We have Mr. Thyagarajan from Shriram Group joining us for a quick reaction to the big deal which hasn't worked out. Mr. Thyagarajan, if you can hear me clearly,
yes.
What happened?
See, deals are struck after a lot of consideration of various issues involved. So if a deal happens, it's only out of about 100 deals that people attempt to work out, 3 or 4 may eventually work out. So the probability of a deal going through being pretty low, you don't need an explanation as to why a deal did not take place. Okay. It is something like you go out trying to buy a house. You don't buy every house that you look at, no?
No, my only reason for asking you that, Mr. Thyagarajan, is because it took so much time, sir.
No, not so much of time. 2 to 3 months when there are so many issues involved, so many partners, so many listed companies and so many regulators involved. 3 to 4 months is too short a time for a deal which is satisfying everybody's inclinations is something which can happen only rarely.
But Mr. Thyagarajan, one would like to understand what was the reason that you didn't eventually buy the house. Was it the structure of the deal? Was it valuations? Was it regulatory approvals?
One reason. It can't be one reason in all such cases.
So it was all of it?
A single reason. You can see there is a valuation. There is a structural issues. There are people issues, which person should be handling what kind of a portfolio in a revised setup. And then the regulators, all these things are there. So for all of them to settle down to a particular position, which is liked by everybody, which everybody approves, that is something which takes a long time.
But
so there is no single reason. It is not merely that we did not agree on valuation. Valuation, structuring, people, all of them we have to agree on.
Mr. Thyagarajan, when you initially started exploring the deal, I'm sure
No, we did not. That's the problem. You know, there were advisors, well-meant advisors, that we should follow this route. We had not met IDFC at all. And suddenly we decided, okay, we will start meeting them and we will give ourselves 3 months' time.
Okay.
Which is exclusivity, nothing else, nothing beyond that.
So
it was not as if we had come to a conclusion that we will be merging and then started talking to each other.
Did you get
working out the details? No.
Did you get a pushback from your existing minority shareholders that they were not interested in this deal?
Nothing of that kind.
Okay.
Right.
It was not discussed with anybody. There was no pressure from anyone. See, we believe that as long as we have something which is of benefit to everybody, we are very confident that we will be able to convince every one of our stakeholders.
Right,
that was not a problem. But we did not have a proposition which we can present to them. We were trying to work out a proposition which will be acceptable to IDFC also, and IDFC's team of investors and other people. Then only the question of talking to our team comes in.
Sir, let me use the terminology which Mr. Rajiv Lal used at the press conference. He said, look, this merger is made in heaven. So when he made the statement, I'm sure there must be some thinking.
No, there was nothing. On the first day, I suppose he made that statement. I can't remember when or whether he made that statement at all. It is in the press, that's all I know. Okay, that was something which was mentioned by Rajiv Lal with all good intentions, because he could see the advantage of these two institutions working together. He could see the advantage. I could see the advantage. All of us could see there were a lot of advantages. So there was an enthusiasm. In that enthusiasm, Rajiv would have said that this is something made in heaven, etc. But we did not at that point of time discuss the details.
Right. Mr. Thyagarajan, so you're saying that both parties saw advantages in this merger?
Continue to see advantages.
So then,
we are very strong.
What was the disadvantage that led to the fall? And I mean, there was definitely.
There are many disadvantages. I am not saying this is a fall. There was no deal for it to fall.
But sir, you clearly did see advantages, and one's understanding of advantages is that there's much on the table for both entities to come together. Market talk, of course, indicates that maybe the deal was too skewed in favor of IDFC, which did not quite augur well for the Shriram Group.
I do not think so. That is not the only reason. The reason is there are 4 or 5 major areas in which there has to be agreement.
Okay, what are those?
One of them is the valuation. One of them is if any one of those 4 or 5 fail, then there is no deal.
So where was the major disagreement, Mr. Thyagarajan?
No major. I'm saying each one of the 5 or 4 criteria are equally important. Each one of them should have been satisfied if we had to move forward.
And you're saying that on each one of those...
That includes the approval from the regulators, different regulators, they had to approve. They would have put their conditionalities. And those conditionalities also could have aborted the issue, merger. So that's why I'm saying there is 4 or 5 criteria which have to be satisfied. If the deal had to, to transform itself into a joint venture between the two. One of them was the valuation. To say that the valuation could not be agreed upon and therefore the deal failed is not correct. First of all, there was no deal. Secondly, if there has to be a deal, there has to be an agreement on 4 or 5 and it has to have the approval of the regulators as well. Only then there is a deal. So right now, the differences are in many areas, not only with regard to valuation. And in my view, personal view, I don't think it is the Shriram view, it is not the Ajay Piramal view. My personal view is this valuation could have been sorted out. Okay. So that is not the only issue. But there are other issues also. The structure, how many activities, then which are the ones where the IDFC people will be driving, which are the areas where we will be driving, and whether together we will be able to work in a harmonious way, because our organization is used to working between different entities in a harmonious manner so that synergy is created. Whether such a thing is going to be possible. See, these are all things which are quite complex managerially. And we never expected that we will reach an agreement on all these things in a short while.
Okay. Mr. Thyagarajan, let's leave yesterday behind us. Let's talk about tomorrow. Yeah. Since you have so categorically identified all the reasons why the deal has actually been off, would you at any point be looking at reconsidering this deal with IDFC?
Of course.
Or is it a complete no-no?
Of course.
Okay.
Of course you will look at it again. It's not as if the door is closed forever.
Okay.
Are there any other suitors also you may be looking at, or is it only IDFC with whom you would revisit this deal?
I do not think there will be anything else which could be as beneficial to all the parties concerned as this one.
Okay, Mr. Thyagarajan, I'll tell you the concern which some market experts have, that the fact that you wanted to merge with IDFC group of companies is because maybe you were struggling or maybe you wanted to explore better lines of growth. So can I safely assume that you're open to exploring other avenues?
No, that perception is not correct, because we are doing very well in all our businesses. We don't need an association with anybody. That's one part of it. The second part of it, if there is an association possibility, and if that is going to create great value for the shareholders, we are keen. In this, for example, I am very confident, and my team, our Shriram team also was very confident, that if this deal had gone through, then there would have been a creation of value of at least 15 to 20,000 crores for the combined entity. That would have been the addition. See, synergy is something which the Shriram Group has experienced. Okay. Synergy is just 2 plus 2 is 17. It is not 2 plus 2 is not 4.
So Mr. Thyagarajan,
we have been doing synergy. If you look at our life insurance and the general insurance business, or even if you look at our truck financing business, along with our chit fund business, over the years, we have built businesses on existing businesses in a big way, and therefore we have done it extremely efficiently and economically.
So, Mr. Thyagarajan, can I safely assume that it is back to it is back to basics for Shriram Group of companies, and if the merger talk has failed, that is not going to change anything whatsoever? And while you were exploring merger talk with IDFC, nothing changed for your operating businesses?
In the Shriram Group, I am sure nothing changes for IDFC also. We will still look at the possibilities of working together if we can work out the details.
Right. In what capacity then, Mr. Thyagarajan, are you looking at working together? What would bring you back to the drawing board?
One thing is, we will not be in a great hurry to conclude anything.
Right. But, the market is working with the assumption, sir, that the deal has been completely called off and written off. But you are saying that that's not the case. So my only question is, what will get you back?
There could be deals in the future with IDF. Most probably, if at all there is going to be deal with someone, The chances, I am a statistics man, I am a probability man. I talk in terms of probabilities.
So what is the probability, sir, Mr. Thyagarajan? What is the probability of
you see, when there is a probability of 90%, an event may not happen. When there is a probability of an event happening, the probability being only 10%, that event also may happen. That is why we use the word probability. The moment you use the word probability, certainty goes out of it. The fact that the probability of an event taking place is 90% does not mean that it will take place. And the probability being 10% does not mean it will not take place. So we have to think in terms of uncertainty. Probability is a way of quantifying uncertainty. It is not eliminating uncertainty.
But reality, sir, let's not get into probability or uncertainty. I'll talk about reality.
Reality, you have to talk in terms of probability.
Okay, so I'll ask you a very, simple follow-up question.
Yeah.
If you don't go ahead with any other deal, is there a proposal or a thought that you may merge Shriram City Union with Shriram Transport, or nothing changes there?
We are not planning anything immediately. We will look at merging if there is a business benefit arising out of that. We do not go about trying to merge companies merely for the sake of keeping our people busy going through the process of merger. The merger has to result in something good for the community and to the shareholders. Only then we'll think of merging. Such eventualities may develop, may evolve. Right now there is nothing on the table. But it may happen, it has to happen. If it has to happen, we will think about it seriously.
If the valuation challenge is overcome, do you think the proposal of the structure which you had in your mind is likely to go through by the regulator? What I'm trying to understand, sir, is straightforward. Was the issue regulation or structure? Because valuation can be sorted out. Structure cannot be sorted out.
The regulation would have come later.
Okay.
The first thing is agreeing with IDFC about the way of working together in the combined entity in the future. One of the points is your valuation. The shareholders on both sides should be comfortable that the valuation is okay, number one. Number two, we should agree on the advantages, quantified advantages of the merger. My view is the quantified advantage of the merger would have been value creation of 15 to 20,000 crores, which is not a small amount of money for us. That is something on which there had to be agreement between the two parties, which we did not even discuss. We did not have the time to discuss. We will have discussed it as we went along. So the third one will be the manpower. We have got senior level people. They have got senior level people. A lot of experience, a lot of strengths are there. How do we configure a situation where the strengths of both the teams will come into the managing of the enterprise? On that there had to be agreement. So these three, I would say, are very vital. Then the question of going to the regulator comes in. Then the question of communicating these advantages to the operating people. Because we are, at least in a Shriram case, we are dealing with 50,000-60,000 people. So communication to all of them to see that they are enthusiastic about the whole thing also is important.
Right.
And all these things should be done before we put our signature on a merger proposal.
Mr. Thyagarajan, sir, I will read between the lines because you use the term valuation in your answers many a time. So I would reckon that there must have been some concern that may have not allowed you to budge from there, because the market also believes that there was an inability to agree on a mutually acceptable swap ratio.
I was talking about the valuation addition that will happen because of the merger. I wasn't talking, I say, once again, as I said, valuation today is not as important as the addition to the valuation of the combined enterprise that will happen because of the merger. I was focusing on that. If the merger had taken place, there would have been a creation of value of around 15,000 crores without spending anything on expenses, anything on increased capital. The valuation would just have happened, extra valuation. So once you look at that, today's valuation is not all that relevant. I would say a 5% here, this way or that way, probably we could have persuaded ourselves to give up. So valuation is not the only issue. But perception of how much of increased value will come about because of the merger becomes important. I may say that it is 15,000 crores. IDFC may not be impressed that it could be 15,000 crores. They may say it will not be even 1,500 crores. They may think so. We have to reach agreement. We have to discuss on that. See, if you look at the way we structured our relationship with our South African friends, it took a few months for them to get convinced that this combination will create a lot of new value for the enterprise. It takes time. Okay, I'm saying that there is still, I would say, there is an advantage in these two entities working together. But whether it will happen or not will depend on how we take it forward, how they take it forward, whether they see the advantages that we see. But we are not directly talking to all the people in IDFC. We are talking through the investment bankers and intermediaries. That's why I'm saying I am not ruling out any possibility into the future. But at the same time, I am not saying that anything will happen. But we continue to do our businesses and try to do it better and better as we go.
Mr. Thyagarajan, really appreciate your time on behalf of everyone from ET Now. Thank you for patiently answering your questions. And I just want to make this public for our viewers that Mr. Thyagarajan currently owns about 1% stake in company, but he's always stood for his minority shareholder, and that is what markets have always admired about his leadership when it comes to Shriram Group of companies.